Good evening and welcome to our daily devotional reading. I hope you are well. Let's jump into it immediately, closing our eyes, preparing ourselves to receive the words of one in whose footsteps many have followed. To find the truth that's hidden between his lines. To get a taste of it, at least, an inkling. A hope that there is more to find. We may assume then, I said, I being Socrates, that wisdom, sophrosune temperance, viewed in this new light, merely as a knowledge of knowledge and ignorance, has this advantage. But he who possesses such knowledge will more easily learn anything which he learns, and that everything will be clearer to him, because in addition to the knowledge of individuals, he sees the science, and this also will better enable him to test the knowledge which others have of what he knows himself. Whereas the inquirer who is without this knowledge may be supposed to have a feebler and weaker insight. Are not these, my friend, the real advantages which are to be gained from wisdom? And are not we looking and seeking after something more than is to be found in her? That is very likely, he said. That is very likely, I said, and very likely too we have been inquiring to no purpose, as I am led to infer, because I observe that if this is wisdom, some strange consequences would follow. Let us, if you please, assume the possibility of this science of sciences, knowledge of knowledges, and further admit and allow, as was originally suggested, that wisdom is the knowledge of what we know and do not know. Assuming all this, still upon further consideration, I am doubtful, Critias, whether wisdom such as this would do us much good. For we were wrong, I think, in supposing, as we were saying just now, that such wisdom ordering the government of house or state would be a great benefit. How so? He said. Why, I said, we were far too ready to admit the great benefits which mankind would obtain from their severally doing the things which they know, and committing the things of which they are ignorant to those who were better acquainted with them. Were we not right in making that omission? I think not. How very strange, Socrates, how very strange indeed. By the dog of Egypt, I said, there I agree with you. It is strange. I am being strange, Socrates is saying. And I was thinking as much just now when I said that strange consequences would follow, and that I was afraid we were on the wrong track. For however ready we may be to admit that this is wisdom, I certainly cannot make out what good this sort of thing does to us. What do you mean? He said. I wish that you would make me understand what you mean. I dare say that what I am saying is nonsense, I reply. And yet if a man has any feeling of what is due to himself, he cannot let the thought which comes into his mind pass away unheeded and unexamined. I like that, he said. Here then, I said, my own dream. Whether coming through the horn or the ivory gate, I cannot tell. It's a Greek, apparently it's a Greek saying that dreams through the horn is true and through the ivory gate is false, or something like that. The dream is this. Let us suppose that wisdom is such as we are now defining, and that she has absolute sway over us. Then each action will be done according to the arts or sciences, and no one professing to be a pilot when he is not, or any physician or general or anyone else pretending to know matters of which he is ignorant, will deceive or elude us. Our health will be improved. Our safety at sea and also in battle will be assured. Our coats and shoes and all other instruments and implements will be skillfully made, because the workmen will be good and true. Aye, and if you please, you may suppose that prophecy, which is the knowledge of the future, will be under the control of wisdom, and that she will deter the deceivers and set up the true prophets in their place as the revealers of the future. Now I quite agree that mankind thus provided would live and act according to knowledge, for wisdom would watch and prevent ignorance from intruding on us. But whether by acting according to knowledge we shall act well and be happy, my dear Critias, this is a point which we have not yet been able to determine. Yet I think, he replied, that if you discard knowledge, you will hardly find the crown of happiness in anything else. But of what is this knowledge? I said. Just answer me that small question. Do you mean a knowledge of shoemaking? God forbid. Or of working in brass? Certainly not. Or in wool or wood or anything of that sort? No, I do not. Then, I said, we are giving up the doctrine that he who lives according to knowledge is happy. For these live according to knowledge, and yet they are not allowed by you to be happy. But I think that you mean to confine happiness to particular individuals who live according to knowledge. Such, for example, as the prophet who, as I was saying, knows the future. Or is it of him you are speaking, or of someone else? Is it of him that you are speaking, or of someone else? Yes, I mean him, but there are others as well. Yes, I said, someone who knows the past and present as well as the future, and is ignorant of nothing. Let us suppose that there is such a person, and if there is, you will allow that he is the most knowing of all living men. Certainly he is. Yet I should like to know one thing more. Which of the different kinds of knowledge makes him happy? Or do they equally make him happy? Not all equally, he replied. The other translation boils down to more like not at all equally. But which modes tend to make him happy? The knowledge of what? Past, present, or future thing? May I infer this to be the knowledge of the game of draughts? Pfft, nonsense about the game of draughts. Or the other translation, oh, for heaven's sake. Or of computation, calculation. No. Or of health. Well, that is nearer to the truth, he said. And that knowledge which is nearest of all, I said, is the knowledge of what? The knowledge which he discerns good and evil. Monster, I said. Have you been carrying me around in a circle and all this time hiding from me the fact that the life according to knowledge is not that which makes men act rightly and be happy, not even if knowledge include all the sciences, but one science only, that of good and evil? For let me ask you, Critias, whether if you take away this, medicine will not equally give health, and shoemaking equally produce shoes, and the art of the weaver clothes? Whether the art of the pilot will not equally save our lives at sea, and the art of the general in war? Quite so. And yet, my dear Critias, none of these things will be well or beneficially done if the science of the good be wanting. True. But that science is not wisdom or temperance, but a science of human advantage. Not a science of other sciences or of ignorance, but of good and evil. And if this be of use, then wisdom or temperance will not be of use. And why, he replied, will not wisdom be of use? For however much we assume that wisdom is a science of sciences and has a sway over other sciences, surely she will have this particular science of the good under her control, and in this way will benefit us. And will wisdom give health? I said. Is not this rather the effect of medicine? Or does wisdom do the work of any of the other arts? Do they not each of them do their own work? Have we not long ago asseverated that wisdom is only the knowledge and of ignorance, and of nothing else? That is obvious. Then wisdom will not be the producer of health. Certainly not. The art of health is different. Yes, different. Nor does wisdom give advantage, my good friend, for that again we have just now been attributing to another art. Very true. How then can wisdom or temperance be advantageous when given no advantage? That, Socrates, is very inconceivable. You see then, Critias, that I was not far wrong in fearing that I could have no sound notion about wisdom. I was quite right in depreciating myself, for that which is admitted to be the best of all things would never have seemed to us useless. And if I had been good for anything at an inquiry, But now I have been utterly defeated, and have failed to discover that which it is to which the imposer of names gives this name of temperance or wisdom. And yet many more admissions were made by us than could be fairly granted. For we admitted that there was a science of science, although the argument said no, and protested against us. And we admitted further that this science knew the works of the other sciences, although this too was denied by the argument, because we wanted to show that the wise man had knowledge of what he knew and did not know. Also we nobly disregarded and never even considered the impossibility of a man knowing in a sort of way that which he does not know at all. For our assumption was that he knows that which he does not know. Then with nothing, as I think, can be more irrational. And yet after finding us so easy and good-natured, the inquiry is still unable to discover the truth. But mocks us to a degree, and has gone out of its way to prove the inutility of that which we admitted only by a sort of supposition and fiction to be the true definition of temperance or wisdom, which result, as far as I am concerned, is not so much to be lamented, I said. But for your sake, Charmides, I am very sorry that you, having such beauty and such wisdom and temperance of soul, should have no profit or good in life from your wisdom and temperance. And still more am I grieved about the charm which I learned with so much pain and so little profit from the Tresian, for the sake of a thing which is nothing worth. I think indeed that there is a mistake, and that I must be a bad inquirer, for wisdom or temperance I believe to be really a great good, and happy are you, Charmides, if you certainly possess it. Wherefore examine yourself, and see whether you have this gift and can do without the charm. For if you can, I would rather advise you to regard me simply as a fool who is never able to reason out anything, and to rest assured that the more wise and temperate you are, the happier you will be. Charmides said, I am sure that I do not know, Socrates, whether I have or have not this gift of wisdom and temperance. For how can I know whether I have a thing of which even you and Critias are, as you say, unable to discover the nature? Not that I believe you. And further, I am sure, Socrates, that I do need the charm, and as far as I'm concerned, I shall be willing to be charmed by you daily, until you say that I have had enough. Very good, Charmides, said Critias. If you do this, I shall have a proof of your temperance. That is, if you allow yourself to be charmed by Socrates, and never desert him at all. You may depend on my following and not deserting him, said Charmides. If you who are my guardian command me, I should be very wrong not to obey you. And I do command you, he said. Then I will do as you say and begin this very day. You, sirs, I said, what are you conspiring about? We are not conspiring, said Charmides. We are done conspiring. And are you about to use violence without even going through the forms of justice? Yes, I shall use violence, he replied, since he orders me, and therefore you had better consider well. But the time for consideration has passed, I said. When violence is employed in you, when you are determined on anything, and in the mood of violence or force, are irresistible. But the time for consideration has passed. And you, when you are determined on anything, and in the mood of force, are irresistible. Do not resist me then, he said. I will not resist you, I replied. Thus far our scripture of the evening, and thus far Charmides. What a rich text. So Socrates seems to be playing here, dancing, I wrote down, throwing hints about what this sophrosune or temperance or wisdom could be, and then showing how it is that not Okay, so this is how I see it. I see it that Critias said wisdom, let's go with wisdom, prudence, is knowledge of what we do know and what we do not know. And Socrates, in a roundabout way, is saying that's not quite it. Because then, if that is it, then knowledge, then prudence will not be of the greatest benefit to us. Because the thing that would be of the greatest benefit to us is is a knowledge of good and evil. Because knowing when something is done, I know the English word is well, but in a goodly manner, when advice is good, when medical advice is good, when shoemaking is good, to be able to determine the quality of production, the quality of a life, the quality of moral actions, and to live accordingly, that will bring the greatest benefit and happiness. And remember, happiness then in the eudaimonic sense of the word. One cannot let the thought that comes to mind pass away unexamined. Especially when there is synchronicity. Will I come back to that? I think I will come back to that. I was reading this book yesterday and I had an idea of what I want to play with today. And then this was the text. It's just perfect. You cannot plan it like that. I really read a lot of interesting things in Hegel this morning. And my investigation is only just beginning, because this is the chapter I will be starting with tomorrow. And I feel very much tonight as if I sometimes go through phases where I'm in like wiping the slate clean and beginning again. And I am today in such a mood. Maybe because I wrote here, learning is a process of losing beliefs, opinions, a process of transformation in consciousness, metanoia. And I was wondering, based on what Hegel said, it seems like he said something about consciousness being primarily concerned with itself. And then I was wondering, because that is a phrase I know well from relevance realization, Vervaeke's work on relevance realization, that relevance realization is concerned with itself. And to me, it seems that relevance realization is a part of consciousness But then I'm wondering, what is consciousness a part of, which is also concerned with itself? And I mean, it is the phenomenology of mind, of nous. If you transfer Geistes, mind, or spirit. Yeah, so I'm... whereupon there appears also a new mode or embodiment of consciousness. Whoopsie daisy. I think he wrote something here of consciousness being concerned with truth, and I thought it was funny that as consciousness is concerned with truth, truth is concerned with consciousness and mind. Experience. Truth is a terrifying thing, I wrote down. The process of training and educating consciousness. This is all just introduction still. I'm happy to hear that there are people who find some inspiration in what I do to do something similar. I do not have any advice, technical advice. I don't do any editing. In the beginning, it was simply because I didn't know how. And when Sarah was here, by that time I lost the desire to do so, because it will simply take more time and I will not do a good job at it. I'm really bad at editing. I've written probably at least 7 first drafts of various types of books, and I never quite make it through the second draft, or I change the book completely in the second draft, going from first person to third person or vice versa, things like that. I'm not good with editing. And so I don't know. Managing my reading schedule, again, I'm just winging. Well, yeah, and I'm winging it. And I did 6 months worth of reading Plato before starting. So I did already the text allocation for 1 year before I started reading. So that's something that I've done before. That's qua Plato reading schedule. Qua other things, following my intuition and my chosen teachers or guides or companion explorers. That works for me. I'm lucky that I have a lot of free time, I suppose. So I have a lot of time to just fool around. The one thing I would advise people, what I think you should do is to just do it. Don't let fear start badly if you have to. Like, even if you look at like the first stuff that Alex and Folly posted. It wasn't nearly as good as what they're posting now. So just as you walk, the path will appear, the saying goes. Just do. If your heart feels called to something, if you feel called to something, do not let a thought or an inclination or a desire pass by without exploring it, without examining it, without trying it. Do not let a fear of failure stop you, or a fear of error, especially not a fear of error. Every single day I discover, I think of something that I said the day before. I'm like, oh, that was wrong. And that's why if I edit it, I would just cut everything out. So I don't do that. And what I read here in Hegel, which really speaks to me, is, while calling itself fear of error, so fearing that we might miss the mark, makes itself known rather as a fear of the truth. Fear that we might actually hit the mark and it will scare the shit out of us. Because it does. So I'm gonna shoot. Take a shot, shoot a shot. Did I mark the page number? Yes. 117 for intelligence and consciousness. Let's look at that first. Yeah, it's not within my capacity to sum that up at the moment. What stood out tonight was, or what a thought that I had, knowing a little bit about Socrates and what people say about Socrates, is that in a way he is he's saying that knowledge is good and ignorance is evil. That's very Socratic, if I understand anything of Socrates. And then here I read this book. His favorite thesis is the necessity of knowledge in the conduct of our lives. It was thus that Socrates in his inquiries reduced all the virtues to one and ascribed that one as wisdom or knowledge. The knowledge of good and evil. May the spirit of Sophia be with us.